one will be going down CNN, too.
Home is absolutely
Today, they're waiting in the wings to grab the
Brand new
staple.
comb.
That's good.
Fitzwater's getting to be a folk hero. Got to get Desert Storm cards on the guy, and everybody wants his autograph. He and Schwarzenegger, they're not coming back.
How you doing? You all right? All right, we won't take up too much of your time. Then we'll be all right. Without downplaying, you have the most powerful job in the world. But how much does the president himself, does one man, take the credit, or should he take the credit and the blame for the waxing and waning of the economy?
I think you have to take the blame for your part of it. I think the American people are blaming Congress more. But when people are hurting, like they are in New Hampshire, I don't think it matters for blame. I think the answer ought to be, what are we trying to do about it? Or the question should be, what are you trying to do about it? And I'm still going to push this plan that's not a campaign plan. It's legislation before the Congress. But I think in answer to your question, there's plenty of blame to go around. Presidents can do certain things, but their hands are tied on anything financial because of the control of the Congress. Congress appropriates every dime and tells us how to spend every dime. We can shape it, and I sometimes have to shape it through veto. But I think to try to duck your responsibility is not good. I'll take my share of the blame, and I just like my share of the credit for things that have gone well in the world too then.
Now, a lot of it's cyclical, right? If you had, for example, been president for the second term instead of Ronald Reagan, then the economy was, at that time, everybody was so happy.
Moving out pretty good, yeah. And there's some business cycles, but I think the way to get out of a business cycle with definition is to pass a package like we have that will stimulate. The first thing it does is stimulate home buying. And the home builders were up here last week, the head of the National, and he pointed to this $5,000 tax approach that we've got, saying this will instantly stimulate home buying in this country. Then that means building, that means appliances, that means a good kick for the New Hampshire economy.
Now, a lot said daily about what Congress does to block, and there's been rumors that the Republicans did it up in New York to keep a Democrat from running. Now, here, are there people that we elect, Republicans and Democrats, that really would let the country go downhill just so that they can make a particular party look good or bad?
I'd hate to make that charge against some people. I would hate to make the charge that anybody would put his own political fortunes ahead of the well-being of the country. But I would challenge the Congress then to say, prove that's not the case by passing this handful of incentives, and then let's go to partisan battleground here and argue for these broader party positions. But what I've put forward, Jim, what I've put forward are not controversial as far as what the Democrats are passing now or want to pass, but they want to add to it. They want to soak the rich. And I say to the people of New Hampshire, that means you, fella. Doesn't matter what you're making, eventually it hits you. So this isn't a time to raise taxes, it's a time to put incentives into the economy.
I'll bring up your old friend Ronald Reagan again.
Yeah.
Considered a master at getting public support to help him push things through Congress. Now, you were his vice president then, and so I'm sure you were with him on that. Could you have gotten the pressure on the public, or gotten the public to help you out a little earlier rather than trying to push it now and get them going?
Good question, and the answer is maybe, but I don't know how mechanically. I think back to the Reagan presidency when he himself had to go for an enormous tax increase back in the early 80s. The economy was hurting then. We were in a recession with unemployment high, and to get the thing moving, he had to make a compromise. But whether I could have done something sooner to get my own package passed, I don't know. One thing I might have done is work harder in 1990 to get more Republicans in Congress or more conservatives in the United States Congress, and that would have helped today. But I'm sure going to try to do that in the fall of this year.
Well, obviously, you don't like to acknowledge a Republican challenger, and we understand that. There are many intelligent reasons for not doing that. But is there a reason that this particular candidate doesn't have the respect that maybe one of your old-time fellow Republicans might?
No. I just vowed early on to keep my sights set on being positive, keep my sights set on programs that will help the voter in New Hampshire, and keep my sights set on the Democrats, although right now I haven't even criticized any individual Democrat. You see, I have this feeling that the people of New Hampshire say, look, at the final minute they're going to say, look, we're electing a president. We're not out there on rhetoric. We're not there on some instant plan. Here's a man that's made tough decisions in war and peace, and we're going to support him. And that's my pitch. That's what I believe in. But I'm going to try to keep it positive and just ward off the attacks from the 6 people out there that are attacking me every single day. I've got a job to do for the people, and I'm trying my best to do it.
All right, perception versus reality. When you have to close it, I came from New London, Connecticut. Bases were being closed down. Sam Gaines and a lot of the congressmen were fighting to keep it open. When a candidate says, let's cut the military budget in half, he doesn't have to worry about the constituents, the Congress people, the reality that you have to face when you say it. Is that frustrating?
Well, it's a little frustrating, but I have a responsibility for something that I think is the fundamental responsibility of a president, and that is the national security of this country, the safety of this country, the standing in the world of this country. That's not the responsibility of a candidate. That's the responsibility of a president. And I go back to Desert Storm, and if we'd have listened to some of the reckless cuts proposed by Democrats before that, I couldn't have said to the parents of these young men and women that we put into battle, they're going to have the best. I still want them to have the best. My defense cuts are based on recommendations from the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Colin Powell, Chairman, and the Secretary of Defense. But now you're hearing a lot of cry from people that want to keep a base open that fought against defense spending for the last 20 or 30 years. And it's tough when you have to close a base. But we now have designed a defense program so I can say to the American people, yes, we're going to cut. We're not going to cut the muscle of defense. We're going to cut in a way, though, so I can go to the American people as president, as commander-in-chief, and said, this force will defend against any hypothetical situation that might come up. And in the meantime, keep working for peace as we're doing. So I've got to have a force. We've got to have a defense that I can say to the people, this will do the job. And now we're hearing people that were critics of defense saying, oh, please don't close my base. Close bases someplace else. We're doing that on a strictly nonpartisan basis, and the one in New London you're talking about doesn't relate to closing the base. It relates to a certain system that was there. But it's funny where you hear some of the biggest doves becoming instant hawks. But that's their privilege. I gotta make decisions that matter.
All right, last question. How much does America lose ground when we make a switch in the White House in foreign policy? You meet these gentlemen, leaders of countries, that sort of thing. I think the public realizes that something, whether it's changed for the better or not, has to start all over when a new person gets in there.
I think it's a little less the person than it is the direction. I don't think we lost much ground in trying to win the Cold War when I came in after Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan says the wall must come down. Now, I followed through in a way, I hope, that the wall has come down. So I think it depends on what an individual stands for. But if you're going to have somebody in there that some of the candidates out there say, well, bring all the troops out of NATO, then you're talking about enormous worldwide security considerations. That's what one candidate wants to do. And then you got some on the Democratic left that would say, that make the cuts so big in defense that you'd have to do that. So I think it's more what the policy is rather than who the individual is. But we've got a smooth-running operation. We are the undisputed leaders of the free world. No one questions our credibility anymore, as they did based on memories of Vietnam, because we moved. I said we're going to do something, and we did it. And the respect for this country is high, and I want to keep it that way.
All right, we're all set, I think.
We're off.